Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Kisma, and today's episode is How to Anchor the Peace Within. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Well, hello there, Nick.
Hey there, Kisma.
It's been a little while.
It has been a little bit.
Our Illumination Podcast has had a mini break because we've had a lot going on.
Yeah, we need those every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I feel okay with that. As much as I love doing this and I so enjoy the podcast, it's nice to get into some other things for ourselves. And, we did our first project together in a while.
Yeah, we had the Bigger Future Challenge.
The Bigger Future Challenge was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
So many great people. If you're listening and you were in the Bigger Future Challenge, we love you. It was amazing how you showed up. It was like 10 full days of just... Well, it was the universal laws and energetic keys.
Yeah, it was just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had so much fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, you warned me, and you were right. It was very consuming while we were in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that part of it, like I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun to work together in that way. And like so many cool people moving into the next step is our quantum prosperity leap, which is going to be amazing. And yeah, it's been a very exciting time. And also I think, we live in the world too. Like it's been a little bit of a weird time, that's okay. There's a lot going on right now.
There's a lot going on, and that's why we wanted to talk about anchoring the peace within. And we're actually recording this. Well, I guess it's the day after the first presidential election, and we're not here to pick sides, talk about who we're voting for, but we're here to talk about how the election is bringing up a lot of emotions and a lot of fear. And I will just go out and say a lot of manipulation for people as well. We're still riding the pandemic. So there is so much noise in the world. There is a lot of negativity and fear and heaviness being just thrown at us from many different directions that we felt it was really important to find ways to just bring your peace and anchor it and stay in your lane, so to speak. We've done an episode in Stay in Your Own Lane, but this is really Stay in Your Lane. Yeah,
it's a new context. Mm-hmm. And so that's the thing. It is a lot of times people think we did that, I've done that. We talked about that. And it's like, well, in a world like this, especially the way that things are changing, these are things that we circle around to again and again because there's new ways that we need to learn how to navigate this. Mm-hmm. That's just being a human being.
Yeah, it's like back to basics all the time. When something isn't working or when you're getting really unsettled, back to basics.
Right. Back to basics. That's so important. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to talk for a second about what's one of the things I think is happening here that's very problematic. And it has to do with the chaos and with the uncertainty. So it is. It's about a month out from the election. The first debate just happened last night. It was, I don't even think I have a word for that. Not one that I'm comfortable saying on the podcast anyway.
It was a fascinating experience.
Fascinating experience
to watch.
That's a fair statement. Mm-hmm. There's about a month gap now. Mm-hmm. And so in people's minds, there's so much riding on this that they can't see past that to make decisions past that. Mm-hmm. And so it's like the timeline for our lives is suddenly shrinks to, well, there's this huge thing happening in a month and it's going to change everything. And they can't think about what's past that to make a decision. So not only is that there's a lot of fear around that and anxiety, But what that fear and anxiety does is then it opens up the door for all this noise to come in, because the mind is going to start looking for the answer. Like, what's the answer? What do I do? What's the right thing to do? What do I do? I don't want to get it wrong, you know, it needs to be a certain way. And then there's certainly the conflict. I want to talk about that too. That's important. But all of this, it shrinks the timeline right into this like here now kind of thing, but not in a healthy way, more in like a holding on for dear life kind of way. And decision making gets really put by the wayside. Yeah. Then everything is happening either around us or to us in some way, and we're in a reactionary mode, and there's no anchor in that.
Right.
There's absolutely no anchor in that, and it's just looking for something that's going to tell us like what's the right choice to make. What do I do right now? And that's where a lot of this is coming from.
Mm-hmm. It's a very big stop gap in our lives. We're like, everything is weighing on this date, and the fact of the matter is, it isn't. It really isn't. I know it can feel that way, but we each have our life and our purpose and our career or our business or our families, and being able to channel the focus of what we want all that to be has got to be the number one most important thing.
That's right. Yep.
So what I've noticed, and I'm sure everyone else has too, sadly, when there are events such as we've got this pandemic, elections where the country is seemingly very divided. I don't even know if there's like another candidate like to buffer things. I think it's just very divided. The media plays on that. And there's so much negativity from the media and so much manipulation that if one isn't careful, we have to remember, if one isn't careful, it's just going to go right into your energetic field, right into your subconscious. So we have to be I use this term present to the universe in order to say, wait a minute, I'm not taking that on. I'm not taking on. It's like it's so strong, everyone, that you have to consciously say, I'm not taking on that negativity.
I think it's a really foreign thought for people to consider that you could live outside of that in a way, but you actually can.
Yeah.
You actually can. I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is something I've been thinking about for a while, is, well, the fear inherent in that, like the fear that I was just talking about and how it's being played upon. But what's happened is that there's been a very clear line painted between, if you vote for this candidate, it's going to be the end of the world. Like, that's the message that is being delivered.
From side to side.
It doesn't matter which side you're on of that, actually. If you vote for one candidate, it's just horrible, end of the world. If you vote for the other candidate, it's horrible, end of the world. You're supporting anything from white supremacy to pedophilia to the cabal to like anything you can think of. Like, there's all that stuff. And I don't want to get into the conspiracy theories around that. But what I do want to say about that is, like, what has been accomplished is to use fear and get people to buy enough of the fear that they could paint a straight line from this candidate equals the end of the world, the end of life as we know it. And that is the message that's being given. So no wonder, right? If you buy into one side, all anybody's going to do from that position is dig deeper in to their position. And that's trench warfare, right? If you don't know anything about trench warfare, go listen to a Hardcore History podcast, and it's called, the podcast series is super intense and very, very epic, and it's called The Blueprint for Armageddon, and it's all about World War I and trench warfare, and it's horrifying. But that is what's happening. This is what's happening, right? So that's the position that people are being put in. Now, I'm guessing that our listeners are probably not there.
I didn't know you were going to bring that into the podcast today. Trench warfare.
Well, it's very appropriate. Now, I'm guessing our listeners aren't there. Like, our listeners are not the people who are like in the trenches. Our listeners are the people who are feeling probably more like they're in no man's land, the area between the trenches, and trying to figure out, like, what the heck do I do here to try and make this better? right? To just try to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And there comes that indecision is like, well, do I go this way or do I go that way? Like, because either way, it's not looking like really good options. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with like how important it is to get out of indecision and get into action and decision and getting back to basics. Sorry about the spring in the trench warfare.
Definitely a little sidebar there. So what we're talking about here is the decision to go back to basics and take care of yourself, and the ability for me, the place that it starts when there's a lot of fear in the field. Because if you've listened to anything that we've talked about, or you were in one of our challenges, you know that fear is such a prosperity disruptor. It's a happiness disruptor. It's a health disruptor. Fear is contagious. And interestingly enough, the very thing that we're like, this is a false sense of self, move your fear over, is what is being thrown at us and used as a manipulative technique from many different places. Choosing to not be a part of it. And now, I'm not saying like if you're a political activist, you're going to be in it. This is your purpose. If you're feeling strongly and you want to have those conversations with educated people, you have them. Obviously, vote. Everyone, please vote. But if you're having phone calls from family or friends that want to debate and pull you to their side, guess what? You get to say no, thank you. You actually get to not debate. You actually get to choose to not fight. You get to choose to not feel bad about what you think or they think. You get to choose to let them have their position and stay in your lane. This is, in anything, this is going to be the first step of self-care.
Right. Yeah. And I think what you're really talking about is that's how you turn down the noise.
Yeah. You turn down the noise by just saying, I don't want the noise. I'm going to choose to not take on any more noise. In fact, I'm going to look at all the noise that I'm allowing in right now. I'm going to decide where I'm going to turn that dial way down. And the dial might be on the TV. It might be on the radio. It might be on social media, your computer. The dial might be to somebody you work with or your friends who maybe they have the same ideology than you, but they're just really negative about it right now. You actually don't have to engage. And protecting yourself and your mind and your heart and your soul is the most important for you to anchor that peace within.
Yes. Yes.
So
I'm just like giving that a moment to sink in.
Give it a moment to sink in.
Yeah. And I think for all of our listeners, just consider for yourself for a moment, like take a deep breath and just consider for yourself for a moment, like where is that noise creeping in for you? I loved how you described that. It's like, it really is like you've got your TV at full blast, you know, somebody's running the blender in the kitchen, you know, your phone is on, you're scrolling that and it's making noise. It's like so much noise, it's cacophony, and there's no peace in that. Like there's no peace in that, not for normal people. Like maybe if you're the Buddha, you know, you're good to go, but most of us aren't there. If you're the Buddha,
you're not going to be tuning into our podcast, that's for sure. So let's go through a couple of steps that you can do every single day to just turn those dials down. Number one is going to be choice. It's going to be choice that you come first. And this is going to be tricky for a lot of you because you're going to feel obligated. Well, I got to listen to my friend Julie. I got to listen to my brother-in-law Bob. I got to. No, actually, you don't. You're not obligated to listen, to argue, to fight with anybody.
Yeah.
You can watch the news so you know what's going on, but you don't have to live stream it all day long. So decide that you come first and decide that you're going to turn the noise down. And secondly, decide that you're not going to have any guilt around it because that guilt thing will just replace the noise.
Right. It'll just stuff it all inside.
And if anybody tries to make you feel, well, no, you get to choose to not have guilt. It's that simple.
Yeah. And I think at the core of what you're talking about with that piece is you don't have to explain yourself to anybody.
Exactly. No, thank you. I don't want to talk about it. No, thank you. Or I'm not taking calls today, or I'm having a complete weekend off the internet, off the phone. You get to choose. This is so valuable.
Yeah, you get to decide that for yourself. If you want to help. And I think that anybody who's listening to this podcast is somebody out there who wants to help. And you you can't just, like, the words aren't going to do it. Just saying the words isn't going to do it. Your energy is what does that. And when your energy is full of all of this and all of this noise and all of the conversations and the arguments going on inside the head, well, you're not being the best that you could be. You're not being part of the solution, right? You're trying, but it's just not going to do it because it's not powerful enough to cut through this. But what is powerful enough to cut through this is somebody who's truly at peace in themselves. That's why we're talking about anchoring the peace, and turning down the noise is the very first step of that. Like, it has to be turned down so that you can get your feet back on the ground.
Yeah.
It's just got to. And think about for yourself, think about how good that's going to feel.
And then, Nick, what's an energetic, since we just came off of the challenge, I think it's worth revisiting for anybody who was on and anybody that wasn't. Give us an energetic key to once the choice is made, I'm turning the dial down, how to keep that steady.
Well, you said it with the choice, it's deciding to stay in something positive and proactive for yourself, right? Stay in your life.
Mm-hmm. Your life is precious, everyone.
It really is. And if you stay in your life and doing the things that you can do, then you're going to be way better off. Like, it's an automatic
energetic cleanse, the choice to stay in your life.
Yeah. It will absolutely, like, you'll have the clarity to make the decisions that you need to make to help other people. You'll find that one person out there who's actually, like, on the fence. I don't know where they are, but they're somewhere, and you'll be able to say something to that person that'll put them in the right way. You can't do that from the other place. You can only do that from when you're at least a bit cleaned up inside.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think that's it. Like, the people who are listening to this they're wanting to be that light, right? But you don't get to talk about you can talk about the light, but that talking about the light doesn't turn on the light.
Yeah, it's just a use of words, and it can be a very just haphazard use of words. So be it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the other energetic key that I think is so important is not diluting yourself into the smallness of this limited experience. Kisma goes cosmic on this all the time, right? Go back and listen. She talks all the time about this cosmic self, this pristine self, the higher self, the universal self. That is, nothing can change that about you. Nothing can change that. Nothing can take away the perfection of what that is. Mm-hmm. And we delude ourselves into thinking that I'm this small thing, I'm just a blip, and it doesn't really matter. I have to keep myself safe. I have to do I have to play it safe. I have to get it right. We delude ourselves into all these small things, and all it does is jack up the noise. One of the most freeing and most powerful things that you can do for yourself is start to remember who you are.
Exactly.
Like, who you really are.
And we'll be talking about that more in the next episode. So stay tuned on that one.
If you know somebody that needs to hear this, somebody that needs to get their feet on the ground, somebody that needs to hear it in a different voice.
Yeah.
Share this episode.
Reminders to take care of self, to make a choice to turn that dial down, and to focus on your most precious life.
Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.